Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another round of the Middle of the Pack Racing League Spring into F4 Championship for 2024, as brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing, and this series of course sponsored by none other than PT Actuator. We embark into round number 2 of 8 today, as we take a look back at all the racing action which occurred earlier this week, back on what was, unless I'm mistaken, on Wednesday the 17th of April 2024, but we look to bring it live to you as if it were from circuit side today, this fine Sunday the 21st of April, and we are here in the US city of Chicago. Now this circuit, known as the Streets of Chicago circuit, is a unique one. Whereas most circuits in the world are normally designed in reality and imported into the simulator, this is one of a very limited number, if not the only example in the world, where this circuit was originally designed on the iRacing simulator service for the purposes of the 2021 NASCAR Esports Final, and well, subsequently it was converted into real life, opening in what was June of 2023 and hosted its first ever NASCAR event last year. And well, since then it is a circuit that's become a staple of the NASCAR calendar. Indeed, many a series is eyeing up the opportunity to go racing here, and when you take a look at the circuit you can completely understand. In the fact it consists of 12 corners, a length of 3.41 kilometers, and well, all added together is a circuit which brings together a whole variety of right-angled right-hand corners all together for the aim of creating some brilliant battling racing action. Whether it be the short straights, which are 3-4 cars wide, alternatively the corners which offer plentiful overtaking opportunities under braking, and all while set in the backdrop of what is Grant Park in the city's limits, is a circuit like no other when it comes to street racing circuits. Boys, we all welcome you to this broadcast. Indeed, you can be tuning in firstly via YouTube at youtube.com and search your TX1.tx or 30 Paul Walsh. Welcome to you guys and girls on YouTube. Alternatively, you can be tuning in via Twitch right now at twitch.tv/TX141, and welcome to you guys on Twitch. You may be asking, well, who is TX141? Well, let me introduce myself. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Brit of the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And I'll bring you all your racing action over the course of today and the entirety of this season. And we're speaking of our schedule for today, times in British summertime, that's BST, or Universal Coordinate Time +1 at UTC +1. As we can see, we're going to be going racing in what will be approximately 10 minutes time or so. Well, first, the 2 sprint races today, both 20 minutes in duration, and well, race number 1 is set to get underway at 5:15, and then after that we're going straight to the grid, not about a 2-minute breather for the gridding process of race number 2, and that will be at 5:25. But as our drivers get set, and it's a sunny day in Chicago, a fantastic day to go racing. Well, let's give you a recap of the season so far and what lies in wait, and well, here we can see our calendar, and we start off last time out with an absolutely dramatic season opener. Indeed, you couldn't make it up, and that was within the city of Long Beach in the US state of California. We shipped our way to the US state of Illinois and Chicago with it, and whilst we may have a different locale, the drama is only going to stay ever more intense, because Long Beach saw many a favourite announced in the early stages of the first race, only for them to make major errors and fall apart over the course of the race distance, and perhaps the ultimate one, of course, in the Pro class. Fernando Takahashi, who returned to the grid after significant hiatus, was leading the way in the Pro class, only to end up on his roof with only 2 laps to go in the first race of the day, and it's moments like that you just cannot predict, and that's why this spring into F4 Championship Series definitely has proven to put a spring in people's step, and is one that's going to be highly unpredictable. But that was last week, and we are here today at Chicago, and we continue the theme of being the United States of America with round number 3 in a week's time at the Belle Isle circuit, the Detroit Grand Prix at Belle Isles, it's formerly known, a circuit no longer in use, but we're going to be bringing it back on the 24th of April, and on the 1st of May we make our way to neighbouring Canada for the one and only Montreal Hybrid Street Circuit to conclude will be the Street Fighters Cup, and that will be our first feature race of the season on the 1st of May. Now the Street Fighters Cup all centred around, as the title would suggest, street circuits. When we have our mid-season break and we return for our second half of the season, we'll be making our way to the Road Racer Cup, and we'll be having 4 of the very best venues on the North American continent, which are all about road racing circuits. And I'll start with round number 5 at the Motorsport Circuit, remaining in Canada, going to Canada's premier racing circuit, and one of the oldest in the world, on the 15th of May, before they make our way back to the United States of America for a triple header, with round number 16 our drivers take on the Indianapolis Grand Prix Circuit in a sprint on the 22nd of May, and then we make our way from the state of Indiana to Sonoma and back to California, and quite an idyllic approach of making a full loop for what was our opening sprint round in California and our closing sprint round in California, and that will be at Sonoma on the 29th of May, just out the side inside city limits of San Francisco. And in round 8 of 8, we're making our way to the US state of Texas for the one and only location where you can do the Texas two-step on a race circuit, and that is the Circuit of the Americas in our feature race finale on the 5th of June. And that's going to be an absolute cracker. We have got an absolutely packed calendar, and we're only into round number 2 and 2 races with it. But of course, maybe you'll be asking, so that's our calendar, but how did the championship standing stand after one round of racing? Well, we take a look at the Pro Drivers' Championship firstly, and here we can see Jaden Calloway leads the way. He may not have picked up both wins at Long Beach, but the one thing he definitely demonstrated was absolute consistency compared to his rivals, and that consistency has put him 6 points clear of both Jason Landry and Dibble, with the Sunday GT Turtles driver ahead of the DNA Motorsports driver based on result countback. Melon Harris sits in a valiant P4 on 79 points, one clear of Francois Schenck, where Edwin Offred P6 on 74 points, and Jordan Butler having significant difficulties over the course of the racing and only able to accrue 47 points, and therefore he's got quite a bit of ground to catch up on. We then come to the Pro-Am class, and here we see Samuel Bernardy leads the way on 87 points in a highly unpredictable Pro-Am class in our season opener, and where he's ahead by 9 points of Charles Hosea, with the Rockefeller Racing esports drivers both having a good start to their season, and meanwhile Nick Beyda staying close as well. And we'll keep your eyes on Beyda because he's only behind Hosea based on result countback, and we reckon he could be looking to push himself even higher today. Joe Nagy sits P4 on 67 points, 2 clear of Julian Jones, with Matt Best P6 after a difficult start to his season on 61 points, and 53 points apiece for Adam J. Ballard and Fernando Takahashi. And it's Takahashi we're going to be keeping our eyes on in the Pro-Am class because we believe he's got race leading pace, but unfortunately misfortune caught him twice at Long Beach and it wasn't to be. But then coming on to the AM class, and here we can see your championship leader after the first round by 4 points is Mark Senegal, who we heard originally wasn't going to be on the grid today due to an injury that he picked up the day before going racing, but he's persevering through it and we are going to see him on the grid, and that's absolutely fantastic stuff. But at the same time as well, he needs to put his health first and foremost, but he feels as though he can do it, and we look forward to seeing whether he can extend that championship lead. Because if he can't, Tom Midler is going to be the first driver who might be able to find a way to overcome him, 4 points behind, and Miller, a debutant in the middle of the pack racing at league. This is his first series in the MPRL, and definitely demonstrated his prowess there, and only 4 points behind. Carl Peterson as well, having a great set of performances at Long Beach, his consistency shining through on 63 points, 2 clear of Jared Kelly, who's been going very fast in the final practice session before today, and then Nick Yakubov completes the top 5 there on 58 points. Jason Seelin sits P6 on 52 points, 3 clear of Christopher Holiday, and then we do have Glenn Bratton, Aaron Beaver and Roger Ganesh completing your championship standings, and Roger Ganesh not having a valiant day at Long Beach. Indeed, things not going his way whatsoever, and he's got quite a delta to try and close up on. But then we come to the Teams Championship, and here we can see Rockefeller Racing Esports Red lead the way by 8 points over Sunday GT Turtles, and it's a further 2 to ITT West. But these 3 teams absolutely in sync with all their aspirations to lead the way early on, but it's Rockefeller Racing Esports Red who are able to take the slight advantage. Outside the top 3, it's a sizable gap of 24 points to both Caboose Crew and DNA Motorsports, with Caboose Crew ahead on result countback. And then outside the top 5, it is Rockefeller Esports Green ahead of sister team Orange there, 78 to 67 points, with 61 points to Texas Speed Sim Racing, who are misfortunate not to be able to find more points out there at Long Beach. Now, Slipstream Sloss and Rockefeller Esports Purple bringing up the rear in P10 of 10. But let's come on to our circuit for today then, and it's none other than the Chicago Street Course, the 2023 Cup layout, the real-life layout as imported into the iRacing simulator. And we'll firstly thank you to iRacing.com, not only for their brilliant simulator, but also the fantastic track maps that are provided. And as we can see here, this circuit is a figure-of-8 style circuit, albeit not crossing over with regards to its layout, but a figure-8 in terms of the symmetry of the layout. And as our drivers roar their way around here, they're going to have to contend with the fact there's many a heavy braking zone, and the majority of the corners at this circuit are right angle, whether they be right-hand turns or left-hand turns, but the majority being right-hand turns. Our drivers make their way on around what is this clockwise circuit. But as they depart from the start-finish line and charge their way in towards turn number 1, they'll go through the sweeping left-hander. They're looking to keep it clear of the walls before making their way up towards the first right-hand corner of turn number 2. Now, as they roar their way out of turn 2, it's going to be the run through the King of 3 flat out before going hard on the brakes for the double right apex section of turns 4 and 5. A very tricky section. We can expect many a driver to get it wrong there, or if they don't quite get it right in terms of the speed they carry through, they could be vulnerable as they make their way out of turn number 5 and onto the longest straightaway coming out of turn 5 towards turn 6. And then we see our drivers make their way into the second half of the lap after turn 6, uphill and towards turn number 7 across the bridge. As they make the way into the right-hander, they'll find themselves then going into a second right-hander at turn number 8, flat out for the long left curve at turn number 9, and into the right-hand kick at 10, will set themselves up for the break-ins over turn at number 11. Much like turns 4 and 5, turns 10 and 11 come excruciatingly quickly. But as they make the way out of turn 11, it's then the run to the final corner at turn number 12, a right-angled right-hand corner to complete the lap and do it all over again. And we'll give them the fact there's not too many long straights around here, and those that do exist, the run from turns 5 to 6, and also the run from the final corner to turn number 1. It means that Slipstream around here will keep our drives bunched up together, but there's going to be plenty of battling, and therefore we're not expecting anybody to just be able to run right and run away. We're at the race lead, but we'll have to wait to see if anyone can find a way to break away as we get ready to go racing. Let's give you a quick recap of our rules, because of course we can't go racing without them. And well, as we come from the city of Chicago's map, then Cook County in the US state of Illinois, we come to our rules, and as we can see, setup wise, drivers shall run a fixed setup as provided by the middle of the pack racing league with fuel loads restricted to 14 litres. That does mean that our drivers have got enough fuel to get to the end of the race unscathed on fuel capacity in both cases, and the races begin via a standing grid start, with each driver having one fast repair available. Should they need to come into the pits, it will be for repair work. Alternatively, if they've picked up 15 or more instant points, they will receive a drive-through penalty that must be served within a certain number of laps. I do believe it's within 3 laps. Now, sprint race-wise, the grid order for race number 1 shall be set based on the results of a closed qualifying session, which is currently underway, which is where all drivers take to an isolated instance of the circuit, and they had the best part of 7 minutes to put in their qualified times. And sprint race number 2 shall follow up with a grid order being set based on the results of the first race of the day, but the top 10 positions will be inverted. But what does that mean exactly in layman's terms, I hear you ask? Well, it means the winner of race number 1 starts P10 on the grid for race number 2, the 10th place finisher for race number 1 starts on pole position for race number 2, and those who finished a length and downwards in race number 1, well, you guessed it, that's exactly where they'll start for race number 2. But that's enough rules, regulation, everything in between, and well, I'm very pleased to say, ladies and gents, we do head back to circuit side, and we are about to head to the grid for our first race of the day. And well, as we do so, all drivers making their way onto the grid, and this will line up for our first race of round 2 at the Spring into F4 Championship for 2024. And as we can see, Jaden Calloway has taken pole position for ITD West, well, 123.599. He was the pole sitter at Long Beach, and well, he's taken pole once again by a sizable gap of almost half a second over Mika Hendricks in P2, the privateer. And then we have on the second row of the grid the 2 pros, the Landry and Dibble for DNA Motorsports, and Sunday GT Turtles, Jason Landry. On row 3, we start to see a little bit of diversity with the pro Logan McKenzie, the privateer in P5, joined by the prime pole sitter of Kevin Clark, the privateer taking P6, and we're a good pole out there from Clark, no doubt about it. And taking that position, and well, as he does so, we then have Samuel Bernardy taking P7 for Rockefeller Esports Red, ahead of Jared Kelly, the AM pole sitter there, P8 on the grid, and the Pro 2 will be followed up by the Prime Pet and Matt Best for Texas Speed Sim Racing, and Nick Beyda, who starts P10. We then have Julian Jones starting P11 for ITD West, and he'll be followed up by Slipstream's loss David Turn, and then behind them we will be having the pairing of what will be Charles Hosea for Rockefeller Esports Green, with Fernando Takahashi P14, and then we do have Adam J. Balla for Rockefeller Esports Purple starting P15 ahead of Kirk Lane for Team Bear Pope, and well, the AM driver making his debut in this season calendar as of this round. And we've also got 2 more debutants today who we'll introduce very shortly, but he's new in the AM class today. We've also got Joe Nagy starting P17 there for Rockefeller Esports Orange ahead of Mark Senegal for Sunday GT Turtles. Looks like the injury not holding back in putting together a strong qualifying lap P3 in the AM class. And then Francois Shing, the privateer, and David Adeyee, new debutant today, the privateer taking P20 on the grid and joining in the Prime class. You saw him, of course, in the Winter GR86 Championship, and he is back today in 4 Falls. And then we can see Nick Yakubov there, P21 for Slipstream Sloss, ahead of Stacey at Bertrand for Rockefeller Esports Orange, for Carl Peterson at P23 for Caboose Crew, ahead of Glenn Bratt and the privateer. And then we do have Jason Seelin in P25, the privateer, ahead of Jermaine Warren, who starts P26. And then Aaron Beaver, incorrectly announced as a privateer in round number 1. He's been corrected to be Rockefeller Esports Green, in P27 ahead of Billman DaCosta, who starts P28 for Bear Pope. And with Roger Ganesh for Sunday GT Turtles and Todd Miller for Caboose Crew, completing your grid of 30 drivers. But all the drivers are almost in position. We're just waiting on one more, and we also need to welcome to the grid none other than David Turn, who joins us as of this round. We're very pleased to have David Turn on the grid in the Prime class for Slipstream Sloths. So 3 new drivers on the grid today. Everyone's setting in position already. We've got 30 seconds before the grid. In fact, no, we haven't. The lights are going on, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for race number 1. And it's lights out and away we go for our first race of the day as Jaden Calloway looks to get a good run off the line in towards turn 1, but behind him Tanner Dibble and Mika Hendricks exchanging places. Dibble going around the outside as they make their way to the opening corner, and meanwhile further on down we've got plenty of 2-3 wides here as we can see Julian Jones defend on the inside. Oh my goodness, car on its roof already. That's with the Rockefeller Esports purple car, of which Adam J. Ballard has gone over its roof. I think it was collected as he made his way to turn number 1. It's a horrific start there for the Rockefeller Esports driver, but meanwhile everybody else has been able to make it through relatively unscathed in terms of damage on the cars. But Jared Kelly a little bit further up the road here, already battling for P8 as he looks to go defensive into turns 4 and 5 versus what is Matt Best as they all coming down just in front of Samuel Bernardy and Kevin Clark, exchanging paint and exchanging tyres as they make their way on towards turn number 6 now. But as they do, things coming down immediately here. We've had one try had to be towed to the pits, that's of course Ballard with that flip into turn 1, and now as they make their way down to turn 6 on the inside there, he's now Samuel Bernardy defending well against Clark with Matt Best and Jared Kelly fighting, but it is Best who's got ahead of Kelly as they come down to turn 7. You can see already Kelly take a look back again, lock up there from Kelly, but Julian Jones goes straight around and takes another place. He'll leave Jared Kelly behind. Kelly rejoins, but as he does so he falls back to P14, and the privateer, the sole AM driver who started inside the top 10, has now fallen outside the top 10, and Mark Senegal is only 2 places behind as Francois Sheen continues to try and harass and handle. Oh goodness me, and it's gone wrong. Big, huge instant coming down into the corner there of what is turn number 11, and the road is blocked for the second half of the field, and that is disaster there. And we can't quite get a replay of what's happened, but I believe that was an error from what was either Jermaine Warner, Jason Lynn, and everybody else coming into the scene of the instant. Absolute force. We've got cars going into the pits left, right and centre, but it's gone very wrong very soon for a good number of drivers, and only what is 1 lap in to this 20-minute race, so the field is now going to be split in 2. But as we do see Jaden Calloway making his way on through turn number 3 up towards 4-5. This is your race leader over in the pro class, ahead of Tanner Dibble P2, Mika Hendricks P3, followed by Jason Landry P4, Logan McKinsey P5. You've then got your prime leader, always say Bernardy, who gets it wrong, going into turn 5, car into the tyre barrier there, and that's going to be towed to the pits immediately. Kevin Clark is promoted to P6, prime leader now ahead of Matt Best, who's right behind him P7, Julian Jones P8, David Turn P9, David Eddie P10, Nick Yakubov AM leader P11, who was able to steer clear of all the danger going into turn number 11. But right now we focus here on the prime lead battle as they make their way over the crest and down over the bridge in towards the right hand here that sets up the long run through turn number 9, albeit by rate, and as they come through turn 7 and 8 now into 9, Kevin Clark and Matt Best have exchanged places. And Best showing no signs of hesitating when he's taken that lead position. But the Texas Speed Sim Racing driver, he's firing off the hip here, and well, he's firing strong right now in terms of making those moves. In fact, he's made the best part of 3 places overall, 2 in class since the start of this race, but now he's got to calm down and just simply run off into the distance here and try to leave Clark behind. But given the toe that these FIA Formula 4 cars pick up for one another, you can imagine that he will be looking in his rearview mirror and knowing that that gap is going to be very slender, and it is going to come down unless he can get a good run on the exit of a good number of these corners over the next couple of laps. But meanwhile, he makes his way out of turn at number 1. We look back to your AM leader here, Nick Yakubov, a very lonely AM leader at the moment. 1.5 seconds is the gap to Cole Peterson. He's looking comfortably in control here as he makes his way on down towards turn 1. And we should point out, with regards to that instant we saw at turn number 11, we said it was Jermaine Warren and Jason Lynn at the head of that. They were in a separate instant prior to that occurring. I do believe, in fact, it was an instant that was triggered initially through some contact between the likes of Mark Senegal and also Francois Sheen and David Adeyiyi and everybody else coming into the scene of the incident. There were multiple incidents at the same time, as we've been informed. It has been a dramatic open lap, but everyone now seemingly calming down. But meanwhile, as we look here to Billman DaCosta, the barefoot driver, coming into what is turn number 2. Well, as he does so, being passed by Mark Senegal, who's immediately on the rebound here. But meanwhile, Francois Sheen also trying to make his way on around and does start the inside into turn number 3. DaCosta staying clear and steering out of the way of the pro driver here. They don't have to oblige, to be fair, in the fact that all points, or the majority of the points we should say, are scored based on overall finishing position, albeit there are bonus points for being on the AM and Prime podiums. 3 for first, 2 for second and 1 for third, but the majority of the points are scored for overall position. That encourages everybody to fight one another, and indeed it's a tactical call with an AM or a Prime. Let a driver of another class go. But as they make their way on through, meanwhile we do look a little bit further up the road to what is Todd Miller, well, the second place championship driver in the AM class going into today. Right now, second place in the AM class in this first race of the day, and Miller for Caboose Crew is lapping equally versus Nick Yakubov. The pace between these two is very close. Last lap for Yakubov he was 500ths slower compared to Miller. So Miller is reeling him in little by little as they make their way across the line to go on to what will be the end of the first quarter of this race. We've got a sizable amount of time to go. Joe Nagy behind the prime driver, who really is the wolf in amongst the sheep right now when it comes to racing around the AMs. Well, the Rockefeller Esports orange driver knows he's got some ground to make if he wants to chase after further pro-owned drivers. David Eddie being up at P10, his next target. But meanwhile, we've got here Jakubov versus Miller, and it was Jakubov who made a bit of an error going into the wall at turn number 3. Side contact on the tyres, but it's given an opportunity to Miller as he looks up the inside. It's going to be bold for Miller to go into the double braking zone. And as they come through turns 4 and 5, Tom Miller becomes your AM leader as the Caboose Crew driver roars on through. And with the team, we're going to be absolutely ecstatic down the paddock. But now, can he hold on? But Jakubov looks to be under a lot more pressure as Peterson is closing up here. And it's going to be Peterson who's behind the Caboose Crew machine. And Caboose Crew are trying to go for a 1-2 in the AM class here. But the problem is he's going to have Joe Nagy on his inside, and the prime driver is not going to back out for the AM battle. But as they make their way over the bridge and down towards turn number 7, you can see how close the drivers in front are to one another as they roar their way into turn number 9. And as they do so, we ride on board the cockpit here of Nick Jakubov as he makes his way on through. And he has got Joe Nagy extremely close. You can just see how close those walls are from a driver's perspective as they make their way on around the corners. But then you look over the rear of the car, and this is Joe Nagy absolutely chomping at the bit to try and find a move on Jakubov. And Jakubov going very slowly there through turn 11, dropping down to first gear. And we took a look at some of the onboard data from other drivers earlier on today, and I can tell you some drivers were taking what's turn number 11 in a third gear. So Jakubov right now, I think, just not quite on the pace of some of his peers in the higher classes, but also playing the game as well of just simply making sure that Nagy's got to work doubly hard to find his way around. And as they make their way through turn number 2, it's going to be Nagy who looks at the cutback move. Jakubov going defensive there, but goes a little bit deep off the corner. This is going to give Nagy every opportunity he needs to look up the inside as the Rockefeller Esports racing orange machine looks to make a move here to take P11. This may be what's needed, and this fighting has opened up a gap of 2.5 seconds to Miller. Well, there's Nagy. He gets his way through. He gets his man up into P11. What did it cost him? It cost him a lot of time. And well, Miller right now is just looking at his rearview mirror and thinking, right, I've done exactly what I need to do. But meanwhile, for Carl Peterson now, he's got to try and make his mark count if he wants to make it a 1-2 in the AM class of Caboose Crew. Already Miller's breaking away, and Peterson's got the pressure. Ganesh behind, and Aaron Beaver's not too far off him as they make their way over the rise and down. But as they do so, we're hearing there's been an incident for Jared Kelly off camera. Kelly's had to be towed to the pits, and well, that is a disaster also for Mark Senegal, who's been towed to the pits off camera. And well, we haven't quite caught that. We won't be able to get a replay of the incident that's occurred. We stay with the racing action that we see on screen, and well, they make their way out to turn number 9 in towards 11 they go. Peterson here still trying to find a way past Jakubov, but in fact seems to have increasing pressure from Ganesh. But from then we look to your pro-am lead battles. They make the way on through what is turn number 3, and as they do, Best right now definitely leading the way by 7.5 tenths versus Kevin Clark as they come through into turns 4 and 5, roaring the way on down through the double right-hander. And well, it's Clark and Jones that are starting to move closer and closer together as we say hello quickly there to Samuel Bernardy in the YouTube chat, who says more gas, less brakes. And indeed, that being the mantra of all drives, you want to be on the gas as much as possible at any circuit, including here on the streets of Chicago. And well, as we do see Jones staying nice and close to the back of Clark, we ride on board here with the ITD West driver as he looks for another opportunity to get involved. But will he be able to? That is the quandary here. As you can see how close they get to those inside apex walls. Indeed, when they say it's the street circuit, those walls are not forgiving. You make even the slightest bit of contact, unless it's a completely flush impact with the wall with the tyres sidewall, you are not surviving it in terms of your race is over. And well, the 133 driver of Jones right now, knowing that and knowing he's got to work doubly hard to try and find opportunity to make a move here and make one stick as well without letting Best run away to lead that Pro-Am class. And that's the problem as well. Do you just simply sit in P3 here, knowing you're inside the top 10, you're going to be in that reverse grid, and you'll naturally inherit a better starting position compared to your two Pro-Am rivals in front. Also, you've got turn out of you to consider car coming out the pits there that I do believe was the car Jason Lynn that was parking up just to let drivers go through. And well, as they do that, Fernando Takahashi just in front. It's going to give Jones an opportunity here as he looks to try and cut the inside of corner exit with Clark going a bit deep in order to negotiate Takahashi. Here they go as it's going to be a drag race on through turn number 3 through the curvature. Jones in the prime position right now. He's still got Takahashi on his inside, and that's not going to enable him to make a move as Takahashi backs out there to the braking zone. And Jones right now be grateful that he's been able to make it safely on past Takahashi. Takahashi showing great awareness of the battle around him, but at the same time as well, I think Jones would have liked to have taken a look up the inside, but to be fair, it's better to be safe than sorry, and that's exactly what he's done now as he makes his way on through turn number 6. We're looking further down the order. We do see some battles starting to play out. And well, this is Jakubov versus Peterson. And Peterson looking around the outside of Jakubov into turn number 4. And as they come through the right hand, you can see that Jakubov right now, they're very tight inside line with all the bumps in the road as well. But that's something that's not as clear when you're looking at these external cameras compared to when you're riding on board with a driver or in the car yourself as a driver. But this road surface is extremely bumpy. These street roads, of course, used by commuters every day when they're not being sealed away for the Chicago street cores. And will therefore all their natural contours and bumps in the road, that makes this circuit even harder. With the fact if you brake at the wrong time when you're going over one of those bumps, it can be enough to unsettle the car, and it can be enough to make you go along in the braking zone and almost put you to the tyre barrier. And Jakubov right now just playing this race at his pace, being very smart about it in the 288. I think Peterson's got more pace than Jakubov, but the problem is Jakubov knows where he needs to defend and defends well when doing so, and Peterson hasn't found a counter to that. And it is a bit of a game of chess between drivers when you're this close in class in terms of pace, in the fact that you may have the faster pace, but if you can't pick the right move in order to take that place, then it really is checkmate for you as they make their way on towards another lap, and they go into the second half of this race already with the best part of 7 laps complete, and I suspect we're going to have a 7 more before all is said and done in this first race of the day. And we're Aaron at Beyda at the back of this pack right now, staying close, looking for an opportunity, and will he be able to find it as he chases after Ganesh, who goes defensive there, coming out of what was the run into turn 2, and well as the American Air of Rockefeller Esports Greens, Aaron Bieber looks to stay close. We ride aboard the nose camera here on the 297 driver, and it will be a similar situation for Peterson versus Jakubov in the fact that I think Bieber feels though he's got a slight edge on pace here, but it is Ganesh who right now just finding a way to thwart that pace when he needs to do so. Well, as they make their way onwards towards turn number 6, that longest stretch of the straight line road surface right now, as they make their way into the next braking zone. It will come in on down, braking 150 metres from the corner apex, and Bieber closing up incredibly there as they make their way over the bridge and down. Well, as they do so, these apexes in different whips as well, that's always going to add a bit of a contrast to the racing for drivers, and well, they can guess how close you get to the ball on certain corners than others, but the key point being around here is that consistency proving ever key, and these drivers staying together. As meanwhile, the back of this group is always the privateer machine of Francois Schink, channeling his inner Eddie Jordan, or at least the Jordan Formula 1 team back from the 90s, albeit it's not a Honda engine under that rear cowling. And as he makes his way on through turn number 12, getting close as there's a car around us, Roger Ganesh, who's gone round at turn 12, car going into the pits there, and I don't think Ganesh is going to be able to dodge the pits. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to. Meanwhile, Francois Schink staying close, and Ganesh, I think, going around of his own accord, but now he's got to take a trip to the pit lane for the simple reason he can't reverse it out the pit lane. And well, as Schink looks to go up the inside there of Bieber, Bieber lets it go, and the number 18 Pro Drive gaining another place, but this is nowhere near where he wants to be. You can understand he wants to be inside that top 10 as a minimum, but right now 7.5 minutes left on the clock. He's going to have to take another 4 places. His target is Todd Miller, who is P10, the leading AM driver, but when Miller is the best part of what is 9.5 seconds up the road, even Francois Schink, he can bend space and time by going faster than many out there, but even he will know his limits for the number of laps he's got remaining. But meanwhile, he makes his way on down towards turn number 6. We look back up to your overall leaders. There's a car pointing the wrong way. Oh, goodness me, that is Billman DaCosta, who's had it go very wrong at turn number 1. The car's gone round there for the Bear Poacher. He's got it back together, avoided the walls, but I think that the 283 driver there will be a bit shaken in what's happened. In fact, go quite slowly there, I think, to respect the blue flags of the leaders that are coming through. And well, he's going to be ending up now a lap down is DaCosta. And despite everything, still P8 in the AM class, looking for some good points in this first race of the day in terms of P20 compared to his rivals. But I think it will definitely be feeling as though it's been a bit of a shocker with regards to how this race has played out since the start. And well, even more drivers to make the way on through. But meanwhile, drivers trying to recover some ground in this race. Mika Hendricks, who had a spin off camera only 3 laps ago from what was the top 5 overall. And right now, the 82 driver, after being towed to the pits, well, he's trying to recover his way into the top 20 and as far as he can up the road, chasing after Fernando Takahashi. And well, this is the point we're talking about. Takahashi, he may not be a pro driver, but he's got a lot of pace as the Brazilian, and right now Hendricks has to really look for a move. He's going to have to go up the inside. Takahashi squeezed him initially, but then gives the space. They manage to break inside, and Hendricks goes tight, but as they make out the corner, Hendricks have a bit of power over there. Takahashi on the inside, it's too wide, going through turn 8 into 9, and now as they switch the way back to the left into the right, it's not over yet, or is it? Takahashi falls back down the wider circumference, he's got to travel more distance, and Hendricks gets the move done, but Mika Hendricks having to be made to work incredibly hard for P22, but that that's why the Middle of the Pack Racing League Series generates brilliant racing, because anybody of any class can battle one another any time, because all the points are there for taking. But as they make the way through, meanwhile, driver going slowly on the lead lap, and that, I believe, that's not David Turn. We're trying to understand who's been involved in the incident. Is that Matt Best who's had it go wrong? It is. Matt Best has had an instant coming out of the final corner and has lost the lead. Oh my good lord, and what on earth has happened there? That's DaCosta and Tagashi both pointed the wrong way. Well, we're going to have to roll things back a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. Best has had an error at turn number 12, and that's released Kevin Clark into the Pro-Am lead, and now Jones is through, and Best is now P3, but no rear wing. I can't imagine that car is very stable. David had a yeeze into the pit from a separate incident at turn number 12, and as the Pro team makes his way on down at pit lane, well, we also saw there Bubba DaCosta and Fernando Tagashi both going around at a turn number 1, but meanwhile, in all of this as well, Todd Miller, where on earth is Todd Miller? Oh, goodness me, that's a car. Oh, that's Cole Peterson. Peterson's going to the barrier in the exit 1. Turn 1 has claimed the best part of 7 victims so far today, and the Caboose crew driver's lost his front wing and everything with it, and now the 250 car is going to be struggling onwards. Todd Miller, meanwhile, is in the pit lane, I believe, for repair work of the car. We're not quite sure what's happened to him, but meanwhile, it means as Aaron Beaver looks up the inside of where is Nick Yakubov into turn 3, Beaver takes the lead of the AM class. He takes P11. It's not over yet, however, because they make the way on the run down towards turn 6. You can see Beaver go defence in the middle of the road, Yakubov on the outside, not in the toe over here, and I think trying to deceive Beaver into thinking that Yakubov's not going to look for a move. I think right now it's the calm before the proverbial storm between these two drivers, but Yakubov and Beaver now fighting for the right to be your AM class winner and take the first spot outside that inverted top 10 for the second race of the day, as they roar their way in towards turns 8 and 9. Both drivers, they're going slightly deeper than perhaps planned. I think it might be a bit of tyre wear creeping in, and also perhaps stamina starting to be drained to a degree as they head in towards turn number 11. And Grant Park right now definitely absolutely delivers some fantastic race here, much like what we saw at Long Beach only a week ago. Was the drivers head down to turn number 12, and this street circuit, of course, been quite slippery as well. It is a dry day, but the circuit not offering as much grip as you normally see at a road racing course, with the fact that we haven't had as much rubber laid down. And well, here is Joe Nagy looking up the inside of where is there, I do believe, in fact that's not Joe Nagy, my apologies, that is Francois Sheik passing Joe Nagy into turn 1, so it was Francois Sheik looking up the inside, taking P9, and Sheik on an incredible recovery drive right now to recover all the way to P9, having started down in P19, had things go wrong on the open lap, and now all the way back up, and well, he's had a bit of fair fortune, indeed many drivers had some misfortune, others have had some fortune, but you can't take away from the privateer the fact that he has recovered an absolute plethora of places, and meanwhile Aaron Beaver, well, he's the biggest gainer of them all. 60 places gained overall. P11 and started from what was P27 on this grid for Rockefeller Esports Green, and the 297 driver right now, I don't think he's going to quite believe. In fact, he's leaving Yakubov in the distance. 1.5 seconds is the delta between these two, and this could be an absolutely emphatic win for Beaver. He's just got totaled up for 2.5 more minutes to that checker flag. Meanwhile, we look back to the battle for P5 overall. This is the lead of the Prime class. It's being contested by the driver you ride on board with the privateer from Haas, of what is Kevin Clark, and behind him that is Julian Jones from ITD, and as they make the way on down in towards turns 3, 4 and 5, going through 4 and 5, Clark just grudgingly grazing the wall there, car unsettled. You can see the changes in the road surface and those bumps in the road making the car incredibly unstable, and whilst these cars do have quite a significant rear wing, as you'll see right now in this camera view, it's not going to completely settle the car down over the major bumps, and that's why these cars are so difficult to drive, but when you get it right, they're a thriller to run in, and Kevin Clark right now, I think, having a bit of a thriller or an edge of his seat thriller, it could be said, with regards to the fact that Jones is close behind, and they're fighting for the top prize in the Prime class in this race A, which would be a huge bounty of points as they make their way through turn 9 up towards turn number 10. Well, right now Jones falling back a bit, down to 6 tenths away, and well, it may be the case that's the way it's going to stay for the remainder of this first race of the day. But as they head in towards turn number 12, meanwhile we look back to Jaden Calloway, and your leader, the driver, really looks settled in the Formula 4 car at Long Beach, and well, that's settled in nature, definitely being demonstrated as he holds a 3.1 second gap to Tanner Dibble for DNA Motorsports. So you see in the rear of the picture, we now focus on the 00 driver there, only what is 1.1 seconds ahead of Jason Landry, and well, they make the way up through turn number 3. I think we've got this lap plus one more to go. We're going to be very close to potentially getting a 15th lap in. It is going to be marginal, we'll have to wait and see, but as they make the way on through what is turn 5 and down towards 6, we're hearing there's been a spin for Mick Hendricks, only what is quite recently, and that's been happening what was, I do believe, turn in number 1, but still down P20 is Mick Hendricks, and we'll keep you updated on whether anything happens elsewhere for our drivers. But right now and Dibble still chasing after what he is at Calloway, but I think the question is more the case of will Jason Landry be able to get any closer? But always said and done. Meanwhile, the battle between Clark and Jones, these two still separated by 4 attempts. A little bit of traffic has intervened. That's Roger Ganesh in front of them, and well, as they make the way up past Glenn Bratton just behind them. Well, Clark right now hoping this is the final lap of the race, but I don't think it is, ladies and gents. I think we've got one more to go, because here is Jaden Calloway, and well, the white flag is being waved. One more lap of the cars then, a 15th tour of the circuit in this first race of the day. Calloway leads by 3 seconds. Can he hold on to the end? Tanner Dibble, meanwhile, still holding on by 1.4 seconds ahead of Jason Landry. That's your top 3 with Logan McKenzie completing the run of pros in P4 here, the privateer, with then leading prime driver, and the closest battle on the circuit right now, it's Kevin Clark. He's the second car from your camera screen. In the fact, we have Roger Ganesh in front, who's a lap down P17, the AM driver there, who's running a solid P5 AM as well, it should be pointed out. But Clark right now, your prime leader, trying to find his way past Ganesh. And well, Ganesh here, I think, will notice what's coming shortly and just look to stay on a safe line, and he does exactly that, as it's going to be Jones who stays in the tow of Ganesh for as long as he can to pick up a bit of a slipstream as they make the way through turn number 3. They tucks in there, but the thing is, Clark has positioned himself well, and by being on the inside of Ganesh, he gives himself a tighter run into turn 4, but he forces Jones to follow him through then as they exit turn 5. Well, Jones had a phenomenal run through turn number 5, but will he be able to get close enough here? It's 2.5 attempts as they make the way down the straightaway towards turn number 6. He's looking, he's probing, Clark's defending in the middle of the road. It's going to be Jones looking around the outside, and once they come through a left-hander, Clark just takes his natural line. Jones can't find a way to get under his skin. Meanwhile, we look back up towards the front of the field because Dibble has lost the best part of a second to Landry, who's getting closer and closer. But meanwhile, though nobody's had an absolute count on this man, Jaden Calloway, who right now, as he comes out the final corner, he took pole position by half a second, and he's going to take the first victory of the day here over in Pro. Jaden Calloway for ITT West is your winner. Mine win is 3 seconds out of Tanner Dibble and Jason Landry. To complete your top 3, Logan McKenzie comes home in a lonely but happy P4, and in the battle for the prime winners, they emerge from the final corner. It's close to the wall. He's as close as you'd like it, and Kevin Clark closes as your winner in the prime class, P5, ahead of Julian Jones, P6. David Turn will shortly come through to take what will be the final spot on the prime podium behind Clark and Jones. For slipstream slots here, the 135 driver notches what is a well-deserved prime podium in P3 in the class, and then we're going to be having Matt Best shortly make his way on down towards the final corner, as I believe crossing the line there, that was Adam J. Ballard who finishes P20 a lap down. But here is Matt Best in a wounded car that's got no rear wing. He may have lost a win in the prime class in this first race of the day, but he hasn't lost his spirit, and that's why he takes P4 in class, P8 overall, ahead of Francois Schenk, who's still yet to finish this race. And Schenk making his way on down to the final course. We see some sparks flying there from the car of what is none other than, I do believe, Mark Segal just in front. But here comes Schenk to take P9, and the reverse grid pole sitter for the second race of the day will be Joe Nagy for Rockefeller Esports Orange there, who takes P10 and 5th place in the prime class. Aaron Beaver cross the line, your AM winner, taking his first win of the season for Rockefeller Esports Green in the class, with Nick Yakubov 2 seconds behind in the end. Second place and P12 overall, and Nick Beyda is your last lead lap finisher, P13, ladies and gentlemen, and a highly dramatic first race of the day. But we've got 2 minutes before our second race gets underway, so let's take you through those race results subject to Eddie Steward's inquiries. And as we can see, after what was an intense 20 minutes of racing, Jaden Calloway taking the win in the end by what was 3.3 seconds for ITT West over DNA Motorsports' Tanner Dibble, with Sunday GT Turtles' Jason Landry rounding off your top 3 overall and pro. From our podium finishers, it was Logan McKenzie, P4, the privateer, ahead of Kevin Clark, your prime winner there, P5 in the 189, ahead of ITT West, Julian Jones, and David Turn completing your prime podium in P7 of Clark, Jones and Turn, with the slipstream slots driver taking that 7th place spot. Matt Best P8 for Texas Speed Sim Racing, 4th place in prime, head of Francois Schenk, and then Joe Nagy completing your top 10, 5th place in prime, and with that the Rockefeller Esports Orange driver inherits reverse grid pole for our second and final race of the day. Aaron Beaver was your AM leader all the way to the line and taking the win there, P11 overall for Rockefeller Esports Green, ahead of slipstream slots Nick Yakubov 2nd place AM, and then Nick Beyda P13 ahead of Todd Miller, who despite his error and his incident recovered in the end to take 3rd place in the AM class, and will finished a lap down there for Caboose Crew and completed the AM podium of Beyda, Yakubov and Miller. And then coming on to Roger Ganesh, P4 in AM at P15 for Sunday GT Turtles ahead of Bearpost Kirk Lane, with Glenn Bratton P17 ahead of Samuel Bernardy, and then completing your top 20 Mika Hendricks and Adam J. Ballard, with Hendricks doing well to recover the P19. Outside the top 20, it was David Adeyemi ahead of Cole Peterson. Jason in 2 laps down there, P23 ahead of Fernando Takahashi is 3 laps down. 3 laps down to Billman DaCosta, P25, and then 5 laps down for Mark Senegal, who was your last classified finisher, P26, and then finishing more than 5 laps down there, thereby classified as a non-finisher, Jermaine Warren, Jared Kelly, Charles Hosea, and Stacey Bertrand, with Bertrand retiring after 1 lap of racing. In fact, 2 laps of racing, we should say. But that was your first race of the day, ladies and gentlemen, and we have got one more to come here, and well, we are only moments away from going to the grid, because here comes race number 2 at the Chicago Street Course in the US state of Illinois. So as our drivers get ready to line up on the grid, this is how they'll line up for the second and final race of the day. Unfortunately, we can't bring up a graphic due to technical limitations, ladies and gentlemen, but your grid will be as follows. It is Joe Nagy who takes reverse grid at pole position into that top 10 inversion ahead of Franz Washing, with Matt Best and David Turn on row number 2. Julian Jones starts P5 ahead of Kevin Clark, with Logan McKinsey and Jason Landry on row number 4, and your top 10 completed by Tanner Dibble and Jaden Calloway. Aaron Beaver and Nick Yakubov line up together at P11, P12, the 2 AM P1, P2 drives for the first race of the day, ahead of Nick Beyda and Todd Miller, with Roger Ganesh and Kirk Lane on row number 8, ahead of Glenn Bratton and Samuel Bernardy, and then completing your top 20 will be Mika Hendricks and Adam J. Ballard. We have David Adeyemi and Cole Peterson on row number 11, ahead of Jason Seelin and Fernando Takahashi, with Billman DaCosta starting P25 ahead of what is Mark Senegal. There's Jermaine Warren and Jared Kelly on the penultimate row, with the final row going to Charles Hosea and Stacey Bertrand. But here are the grid, ladies and gentlemen, and it is going to be lights out and away we go for the second race of the day as all our drivers launch off the line, and as they roll their way down towards turn at number 1, Joe Nagy gets a good start, but on his inside will be Franz Oshing, and Matt Best tries to sneak in immediately, but it's a poor run from Matt Best, and as he tries to come out the opening corner, he's going to lose a lot of ground and places now, as everyone safely makes their way through this time around. No major drama of cars on their roof, but as they come through turn number 2, we've got an absolute scramble in the battle to be inside the top 10. You can see Jason Landry at a 3 wide with Jaden Calloway and Kevin Clark as they all make their way through the long right-hander at turn number 3. But now, who's going to back out here? Landry, I think there's some contact there. Alternative to brake the car, letting go. Landry holds the brakes. Everyone parts the seats around the Sunday GT Turtles driver, and as he holds firm, I think everyone now, we've got through, but there's further drama. Someone's gone wrong, and that's Matt Best, and also I believe Nick Yakubov who got it wrong at turn number 6, and was they all try to recover the cars. Yakubov pointing in the wrong direction. Everyone goes through the gap that's in the middle of the road. It has been a dramatic run through turns 3 through to 5. Most of our drivers have been able to survive it, but those who haven't, it's a frustrating start, but more to come as Franz Oshing battles to the lead with Joe Nagy, goes up the inside into turn number 7, and these two have already romped the best part of 4 seconds clear of the rest of the field. Now, how they've been able to pull that gap, I'm not quite sure, other than the instance we have seen, where we've seen some sizable shunts and bumps for a number of drivers. But in all of this, through all the chaos and carnage, Todd Miller has moved up to P5 in the AM class, having started all the way down in what was, unless my eyes do not deceive me, P14. Well, the Caboose Crew drivers gained 9 places since the start, and the 210 right now is flying high as he makes one the braking in front of him. That is Julian Jones, who's missing the rear wing. So Miller's going to move up to P4 here, and with the Caboose Crew driver right now, I don't think he's going to quite believe it. But let's just try and dissect that open lap, and to do so, well, we need to go through your top 10 order, because after 1 lap of racing, it is Franz Washing who leads, and Joe Nagy P2. That's your Pro and Prime leaders, followed by your Pro driver Jaden Calloway, who's in P3. AM leader Todd Miller's P4 as he tries to break away from Samuel Bernardy P5. Roger Ganesh P6, David Adeyemi P7, Mark Senegal P8, Glenn Bratton P9, and Charles Hosea completes your top 10 overall at P10 ahead of Adam J. Ballard. And well, as you can see by the traffic light colour coding in the time down the left hand side of your screen, where it's blue for Pro, it's green for Pro Am, and orange for Am. Well, right now we've had a huge shuffle of the classes up and down the grid. Overall position as there's contacts to all there for Charles Hosea. There's a Rockefeller Esports, a driver making contact with the wall, going slowly there in the Rockefeller Esports green machine, and that's going to release the purple car of Adam J. Ballard on through from the sister outfits. They make the way to turn number 6, and Hosea deciding to let go, and I think they're trying to see if the suspension is a-okay. Meanwhile, Stacey Bertrand, who started last but not least, the Rockefeller Esports orange driver, doing a fantastic job, already splitting the deficit halfway through the field up to P14 from 30th, and right now the 152 driver roaring the way into turns 8 and 9, and as they do so, got cars leaving the pit lanes. Look at my content booth window. We've got Clark, Best, Beaver, Beyda, Turn and McKenzie all leaving after their open lap instance. So 6 cars were heavily affected. Jason Landry also, of course, affected by open lap incident. In fact, was at the trigger point into turn 3, albeit I think a sole car involved in that incident in the end in terms of any other cars coming to the scene of it. We're not quite sure whether it was contact or whether it was damage of his own volition, but either way, that's by the by. That'll go to the stewards after race if needed, as meanwhile on the inside of Roger Ganesh into turn 1. There goes with Beyda. Meanwhile, that is Todd Miller. Miller's had a spin at turn 1, turns the car around, but as he does so, Miller dropping all the way down. The caboose crew still trying to get the car turned around, but as we then look to Jermaine Warren here, battling up the inside of Glenn Bratton, and in fact making the move count already. He's got himself past Bratton. Bratton going slowly, lane on the outside here as the barefoot driver tries to make a move for P3 in the AM class, or P11 overall, and does exactly that, and Bratton loses out to Stacey Bertrand as well, and Bertrand now getting composed, getting into the swing of things, and it's looking as though with the Rockefeller Esports everything is looking upwards. But as they make the way on down towards turn number 6, I can see Zen in the YouTube chat there saying that things are on fire with those blazing hot emojis, and he's absolutely correct, or I should say they're absolutely correct in the fact that right now it's been a fiery race and we're not even a quarter of the way through it. And even more to come as Jason Lynn going quite slow down to braking into turn number 6 with Todd Miller on his inside. I think Lynn battling for position, but Miller in the end siphoned his way on through after that spin at turn 1. We know Miller's got race leading pace in the AM class, and Jason Lynn not quite up there, but still looking to hold Billman DaCosta behind and still looking to take P8 potentially in this AM class. So they make the way on through turn number 9, and that is Mika Hendricks chased after DaCosta. So therefore it does mean that right now for Jason Lynn, I think he's going to be feeling quite comfortable here as he can look at his rearview mirror and know that his fellow AM driver's been battled hard, but Hendricks pulls out to the inside going into turn 12. I think this is going to go one way, and that is the way of Mika Hendricks, who takes one. He's going to look for 2 as well. Space is given there by Lynn, and I think Lynn presumptuously given the space and not quite confident on the exit, and as Hendricks looks around the outside, well, this is now going to be Hendricks just sweeping on through surely, and he does exactly that under braking. As meanwhile Lynn going defensive there into turn 1. Car's got around just in front. That is a spin for Glenn Bratton at turn 1. Meanwhile off camera as well, about an instant for Jaden Calloway, who was running P3 at the time the incident occurred. We can see the rear wing there going across the circuit. That is, well, not the rear wing, that is a front end plate for the circuit. No, that is a rear wing of a car, and that has fallen off the back of what's Glenn Bratton's car after his spin at turn 1. So he's had contact with the wall at turn number 2 by looks of things. There's cars and body parts everywhere here, and well, as Bratton makes his way up through turn number 5, that is not going to be a stable car anymore. But meanwhile, in all of this, as they make the way on down the back stretch straight away here, Billman DaCosta still battling with Julia Jones. Jones goes around the outside of him down the stretch, and well, the 283 driver here, I think, just looking to go hunted after Jason Lynn and try to steer clear of any danger. And indeed, danger seems to be the operative word here today, in the fact that every 5 minutes somebody's encountering a new form of it. But as they make the way on through turns, what is it, 7, 8 and in towards 9. Meanwhile, here is your race leader, and well, Francois Schink right now, he may be your pro and overall leader, but he's not breaking away from the second place driver and your prime leader of Joe Nagy. But hold that thought, ladies and gentlemen, we've had an incident involved with Jason Lynn, Glenn Bratton, and Billman DaCosta at turn number 9. We look away for a brief moment and it's all gone wrong, and well, Jason Lynn pointing the wrong way, the same there, I do believe, for Billman DaCosta, but they've got themselves back up to speed. Jason Lynn the last one to do so, and whether it was a spin for a driver who collected the other 2 or whatnot, we're not quite sure, but it's gone very, very wrong. In fact, Glenn Bratton's had to be towed to the pit, so Jason Lynn has been fortunate to be able to get the car turned around, but not so for his rival. Meanwhile, David Addy pushes on, and from them Adam Ballard has found his way past Roger Ganesh, who is now your AM leader. Well, goodness me, ladies and gents, but that is the first time we've seen Roger Ganesh leading the AM class in the MPRL Series, unless my memory's mistaken, and I think he may have led a lap at the TCR Series in 2022, but Roger Ganesh right now, as he lets Charles Hosea go up the inside there in the 229, well, the Sunday GT Terrestrial driver could be on course for his first ever AM win in his MPRL career, and will that be a huge achievement for Ganesh if he's able to pull it off. But meanwhile, we've got AM drivers who are charging away back through the pack. Todd Miller being the biggest candidate here. Meanwhile, in the rear of the picture, Hendricks makes his way past Mark Senegal, and Senegal right now more focused, I think, on chasing down his AM rivals. Just in front, Jared Kelly has found his way past Jermaine Warren. Anyone's going to take P9, and Kelly is absolutely flying right now in the 255 as he makes his way in towards turn number 11. But the privateer here will know there's a sizable gap. It's 6 seconds to Lane, and it's a further second to Ganesh. Ganesh and Lane, I get the feeling, are going to be battling each other soon, because the pace right now relative is that Lane is a second a lap faster on average versus Ganesh. And if that holds true all the way through, that is going to be a sizable lap delta that Ganesh is going to somehow overcome. But meanwhile, we can see here Hendricks on the inside, battling there with Peterson. Peterson leaves the door open. Miller slides on through, but just a little bit too eager. And the corner caught Miller out at the start of the race, catches Miller out again midway through the race. And the 210 driver, I don't think can quite believe his luck. Turn 1 just seems to be the bane of his existence in the streets of Chicago. And the 210 driver hits the inside apex wall at turn number 2. And well, right now, Miller and Chicago do not mix. There's no doubt about that as he tries to get it turned, but he's got to wait an eternity for Fernando Takahashi to make his way past. And finally, the 210 driver can get going again, but how much time that has cost him, that is going to be on his mind. Meanwhile, looking further up the road into the prime class here, and the fact we have a very oddly composed top 10 right now, where it's a pro at the top of it and a pro at the end of it, and then you've got a whole sizable pack of primes from P2 through to P6, and then AMS P7 to P9. Well, we're looking here at Adam Ballard and where's Charles Hosea as they continue to fight for what is the 4th place spot in the prime class, P5 overall, and the 129 driver here trying to keep ahead of his sister team rival as they make the way over the reverse bridge and in towards turn number 12. But as they do so, it looks as though Ballard right now not quite on the pace of David Adeyemi, who just makes his way out camera shot in front. And in fact, looking at Adeyemi as he makes his way on through turn number 1, the privateer making his way all the way around in comfort and knowing that pace is coming through. His pace right now not able to quite match Bernardy nor Nagy, who's up the road, but I think he's in a bit of a lonely P3 in the pro class, P4 overall, and that's the way he'd like to keep it all the way to the end of the race if he can. But as he does so at Kirk Lane, meanwhile being what is chased here by not Lane being chased, as Roy Ganesh being chased by Lane, the Bear Poke driver, looking to make a move. This is for the lead of what is the AM class as they head down to turns 4 and 5. And as he looks to the move, can't quite find it. He's going to try and sniff it out, and we ride on board here as the Bear Pope is feeling ravenous right now. And as they head down towards turn at number 6, will Ganesh and Sunday GT Turtles will slow and steady wins the race, they say. But I think Lane would like to say so. Otherwise, he looks up the inside. It's late on the brakes, as you like from Lane. But Ganesh there sees him coming, gives the space. But now it's the inverse. It's going to be Ganesh on the inside, down into 7. Over the bridge they go, and neither driver's going to back out here as they both go too wide into the corner. A little bit of rubbing between the wheels, and as they make the way through, in the end, Lane does get it done with Ganesh not having the confidence to make it too wide for turn 8. But who can blame it? To be fair, it's absolutely narrow through there. And as they emerge from turns 9 into 10, Lane has taken the AM lead in brilliant fashion as the 281 drive makes way to turn 11, and now Ganesh will be the one to give pursuit. But as they come on down in towards turn number 12, it looks as though with this fight, Jared Kelly is closing, and he is closing quite quickly. Last lap he took 6 tenths out of the pair, and I suspect this lap he's going to take even more. Where is Kelly? There he is, as he's going to let Hendricks go up the inside. I think the privateer knows what his battle is, and his battle is with Ganesh and Lane. And he'll want Hendricks just to simply get stuck into that fight, close up and disrupt it, as Kelly on that last lap took what was the best part of 3 seconds out of Ganesh and Lane. That's how much time he just stripped out of them. So he's closing that gap down fast, but can he close it down in time? We've still got half the race to go. We'll correct ourselves, then 9 minutes plus the final lap. But as he makes the way on for turn number 3, Kelly can see them off in the distance, but can he get them before the race is done? That will be the question that's on his mind. But meanwhile, we look to Jason Lynn, who's going quite slowly out of turn number 6 into 7, and as he does so, I think that was a Dre Warren who's up his inside in towards the left-hander. And well, David Adeyemi, your P4 driver right now, is Warren making contact with the exit wall there at turn number 7. Well, I think Adeyemi will be a bit fuming at the fact that he's just had his advantage to Adam Ballard sliced in half. It's been reduced from the best part of 3.5 seconds down to 2, and well, as Lynn here now does have what is Adeyemi on his inside, and he gets the move done in the end. But Lynn, I think right now he's wondering, where else can I go? And I think Adeyemi won't be asking those questions. All he'll be saying is, you've cost me a lot of time. And well, as they make the way onto another lap, meanwhile Ballard, you can see the gap, how much it's closed down the battle of a P4 overall, and Jason Lynn finds himself just in the middle of it, in the wrong place at the right time, as they head in towards turn number 1, and Lynn giving as much space as possible there to Ballard. He doesn't want to impose himself again. But meanwhile, as we look to Carl Peterson there with Julian Jones up the inside into the final corner. Will Jones try to charge through, trying to make his way into the top 10 now and get some more points on the board as they roar their way across the start-finish line straight and in towards turn number 1. We look back to Roger Ganesh, and well, Ganesh has got Mika Hendricks including close. Already Lane has just run away from the Sunday GT Turtles driver. The gap is 2 seconds already, and Hendricks up the inside turns 3 and 4. That's going to cost Ganesh a little bit more time here, because he'll be a bit more sensitive on the brakes. He'll probably be a bit more cautious by comparison, and therefore, as they make their way out turn number 5, you can see Kelly getting closer and closer in the rear of the picture, and then you do have Stacey Bertrand, who's now a lap down afterwards. A great start to the race, gained the best part of 15 places. For Bertrand, it's all gone wrong midway through the race, and for Ganesh and the Bernardy on the lead lap, they will not want to suffer that same fate. We've already got what is the best part of 11 cars that are a lap or more down, and we've got 19 still running on the lead lap as Miller and Clark are both into the pit. I think both are separate instances of incidents, and well, as our drivers wind their way around the streets of Chicago, Roger Ganesh right now has this man closing and closing fast, and Kelly is absolutely setting the timing screens on fire right now as he just misses the inside apex wall there of what is turn number 11, and Kelly is absolutely on a charge as we ride aboard the nose cone here of what is the 255, and as the privateer makes his way out of the final corner in terms of that pace, as we do see what is Ganesh cross line at 27.218, Kelly a 25.644, Lane a 26.057. So out of these top 3, Kelly is the fastest AM driver out there right now, the battle for the podium positions, and well, you can just see the aggression and how close he's getting to the walls, and the bumps not phasing him whatsoever. He wants that second place, he wants the class win, but he knows he's not got long to chase it down. And when he makes his way over in turn 3 and 4 firmly in the slipstream now, Ganesh, but of course that has its own hazards in the fact he'll be picking up a lot of dirty air into these braking zones, and that will unsettle the rotation of the front end of the car, and Kelly will be absolutely keen to get out this dirty air as quickly as possible. He'll want to use the toe on the straights, we'll see that here, but he makes his way up towards turn number 6, not close enough to look for a move, needs to be at least a tenth closer to consider a lunge, and well, therefore just needs to get a good run as there's contact to all for Ganesh. That's going to cost him a bit of time as they make their way over the bridge. Kelly thinks about it. I think part of him wanted to really go for that. I think he feels as though he should have gone for it on reflection, because it's going to cost him a huge amount of time as they make their way through turns 8 and 9, and as they do, will Lane, the gap's already back up to 2 seconds now as they make their way through 10 into 11. Ganesh is feeling the pressure and Kelly is applying it more and more, but the thing is as well, he's got to be careful because one bit of overdriving and that could be it for Kelly. As meanwhile off camera we've had Nick Beyda having to be towed to the pits after a shunt on what was, I do believe, well, he was already 2 laps down, and it's, well, in fact, he was a lap down, we should say, and well, he's lost another place as a result. In fact, he's lost multiple places with the tow, and also a further lap to the field, but Kelly right now pushing on, and Ganesh still holding on just about as they make the way in towards the next corner, but as they do, Stacey Bertrand up the inside of Jason Lynn, who's just stepped aside towards the lead lap drivers, but should not need to step aside for Stacey Bertrand, but I think Bertrand capitalising on Lynn being out of position and out of speed into turn 2, and the 152 driver sweeping through to take P19 as they make the way in towards turns 4 and 5. Well, you can imagine with the number of cars coming through, even with the fact that these drivers of course have access to plenty of deltas on the screen which tell them exactly who's on the lead lap with them and who's a lap down, who's a lap ahead of them, etc. Right now, just keeping your eyes firmly on making sure you don't go into those walls is tantamount to success, and well, every driver is able to do so. That's where the places are really coming, and the big points will be earned. But meanwhile, we look to a very lonely points leader here in the form of Francois Schink. In fact, he's leading this race and we coming on through to take potentially the best possible points you can get today, which is the 50 for a win, should everything hold together for 4 more minutes. But then again, we don't want to put the commentator's curse on him nor any driver, but the privateer, the pro leader right now, ahead of the prime leader of Joe Nagy. And as we can see, the Rockefeller Esports orange driver right now just simply keeping his head down. And in the 111, well, David turned behind him, turned a lap down, of course. And, well, it's going to be just all about bringing it home to the end with Samuel Bernardy at 3.2 seconds back. And, well, Bernardy is slightly faster lap to lap. In fact, that last lap, he took a whole second out of Nagy. We should correct ourselves there. The fact he's the faster driver over the best part of the last couple of laps. But the gap is so sizable that right now he needs to create a bit more time in his laps, as otherwise he will not be able to close that gap down and potentially go for the pro and win. But to be fair, when it's a Rockefeller Esports 1-2 potentially on the cards here between with the orange and red teammates, I don't think they're going to mind. But meanwhile, we come back to Kelly. He looks up the inside out 3 into 4 versus Ganesh into turn 4, and Jared Kelly doesn't need any more of an invitation than that. He gets the move done, but at what cost it cost him to Kirk Lane? It's 3 1.1 seconds to Lane, and Lane right now will look at his rearview mirror. He'll notice there's a change of car behind in terms of who's the main pursuer after him. He'll know, or he'll guess that it's Kelly, and with that the 281 driver now for Bear Pope will know all he's got to do is keep it calm, keep it cool, and keep it clean, and if he does so, he'll be coming home through to take victory in what is this second and final race of the day as they make the way on through at turn number 11. But as they do so, we are race leader right now going out of turn 1 in towards turn number 2, and with 2.5 minutes left on the clock, I believe we'll get one more lap after the one that our leader has got onto. We'll have to wait and see if that's how it plays out in reality, but meanwhile that is Samuel Bernardy and David Adeyemi fighting for position. In fact, that's David Adeyemi and Adam J. Ballard. We should correct ourselves there, and Adeyemi having to go defensive with Ballard battling hard with him in towards turn number 1, I believe. Well, that's been a gap that Ballard has been working down lap after lap for what is the best part of the last 12 minutes, and Adeyemi now under pressure for the first time today in this race in terms of what's behind us. We ride on board and look back from the 132 privateer, and as he does so, makes his way out the corner. Meek Hendricks having some connectivity issues, but still in P7 as we understand it, and we'll hope that's not a sign of something to come before this race is over. Only 2 minutes left on the clock. Indeed, everyone will feel as though they've earned their right to get to the very end of this race. Adeyemi struggling there for grip, coming through turn number 6 over the crest and down over the bridge into 7 he goes, and the 132 driver here will know that Ballard is close. Ballard can't really go for a move at the moment. The move will happen, if it's going to happen, into turn 12 or onto that start-finish stretch, but as they make the way on out of the corner, well, he'll be worried about what's to come. Meanwhile, Meek Hendricks here really close behind what is Charles Hosea for P6, the pro driver, looking for another opportunity to make one more place as your race leader. Francois Schink, as they look at my contact booth windows, made his way across the start finish line. We've got one more lap to go, but Hendricks won't need one more lap. He goes up the inside into the final corner, and as he does so, Hendricks gets his nose ahead, but Charles Hosea's not backing out as the battle for P6 rages on, and Hosea with that wider exit is able to get the speed down, but the problem is that Hendricks now on the outside here. He can do the opposite as they make the way through the corner, and in fact in the end he goes to the cutback, but it means now that Hosea will continue to go defensive in towards turn number 2, being left into right, and now it's into another right-hander, but Hendricks can't find his way through, and brilliant defending from Charles Hosea, and well behind Tan Dibble a lap down, just waits and watches on, knowing that the blue flags we waved at him if he dares try to make a move on them. But here comes Hendricks once more, looking for an opportunity to try and go all in under braking to turns 4 and 5. Can he find it? No, he can't, as they make the way on through. Hosea slightly slipping towards the wall there. It doesn't cost him too much trouble, does it? In fact, it does. It costs him a sizable amount of time, and as they make the way through, Hosea goes defensive. Hendricks looking around the outside here, going all in on the brakes as they come on down. It's going to be Hendricks sweeping around the outside. Can he seal the deal? It's a clipping of the wall there, but Hendricks carries the speed. Hosea on the outside, and that will be the move for P6 and Mika Hendricks. A very close-knit move, but that's what you got to do to take P6 at the end of the race here. But meanwhile, as he makes his way through turn number 9, we look to this man who, after taking the lead, has never looked back in this race. It's been a lonely lead, but a well-earned one, and it's a well-earned victory for Francois Schink, who takes the win overall in Pro Class of race number 2, and a Joe Nagy who takes the prime win, P2 overall, ahead of Samuel Bernardy, who comes on through for P3. It's David Adeyemi holds on to the final prime spot, P4 overall, ahead of Adam J. Ballard. Meek Hendricks run up in the Pro Class P6 ahead of Charles Hosea, and then coming out the final corner, well, he's going to come through to take his first win in the AM class this season. It's Jaden Calloway. The AM drone makes it count versus Kirk Lane right at the finish, and in fact he's made the move, I believe, into the final corners. We'll get a replay of that very shortly. Lane's P2 and P9 overall, and then Roger Ganesh P10 for Sunday GT Turtles. Third place in the AM class at Julian Jones, with Fernando Takahashi with a great drive to P12 there for the privateer. Carl Peterson will come through to take a P4 in the AM class, P13 on the overall field ahead of Matt Best, with Billman DaCosta in the end coming home at P15. But speaking of Best, here's the Texas Speed Sim Racing driver who's had an absolute nightmare of the day, but in the end he'll take some recompense for it. A P8 in the prime class. You can see he's shaking it from side to side. He's happy with the result. A P14 overall, and well, then I think taking his frustration out on the pit wall barrier, and well, in the end, ladies and gentlemen, we do have 2 more drives to finish on the lead lap, and those will be Billman DaCosta as he heads towards the line, and then Nick Yakubov, who will come through shortly to take P16, and will be P6 in the AM class. But goodness me, this second race of the day had a little bit of it all. all. But as we do look to Jared Kelly and Kirk Lane, well, many of you will be asking right now, what exactly led to Jared Kelly taking the win in the AM class on the final lap of this race? And well, we'll give you an answer to that very shortly. In fact, we might be able to give you an answer now, as we do have a replay queued up. Indeed, we can't normally get you replays, but this we can make a special exception for. And well, ladies and gentlemen, here is the replay as to how Jared Kelly took the lead of the AM class. And well, this was coming on through turn 9 into 10, and it looks as though, well, a poor run there for what was Kirk Lane coming out of turn 7 and 8, and Kelly sweeping around in the end to get it done. You can see they're having to really push the car hard. The rear of the car was letting go at turn 11, so Kelly having to fight it hard all the way to the finish. But a brilliant move there from Jared Kelly and making it exactly count. And well, in the end, the two of them finishing only separated by what was Thames, and that goes to show you how close the race it was between them. And well, congratulations to Jared Kelly on taking his first AM win of the season. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we take a look at the race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are as they do appear on screen. And after an incredible second race of the day, another 20 minutes of absolutely frenetic racing action here in the city of Chicago, and will be the last race of the day here. Francois Schink taking the win by 2.3 seconds in the end. Pro and overall ahead of Prime winner Joe Nagy and the Rockefeller Esports Orange driver, being followed home by Rockefeller Esports Red Samuel Bernardy, who completed the overall podium, and with it made it a 1-2 for Rockefeller Esports in the Prime class. David Adeyemi, P4, the privateer, of a solid result, round off the Prime podium of Nagy, Bernardy and Adeyemi. And then we see Adam J. Ballard at P5 there for Rockefeller Esports Purple, ahead of Mika Hendricks. Second place pro driver, P6 overall, and the privateer having an absolutely shaken race number 1, and in the end a calm, cool, collected head, so he make his way all the way through from P19 to take P6 in the final finishing position. Charles Hosea, P7 there for Rockefeller Esports Green, ahead of Jared Kelly, who was your AM class winner with that last minute move on Kirk Lane on the final lap. But the privateer just taking the win in the AM class ahead of Kirk Lane for Bearpo, and Roger Ganesh completing what was your AM podium for Sunday GT Turtles of Jared Kelly, Kirk Lane and Roger Ganesh, and with it P10 overall. Julian Jones, P11 there, best the rest for ITD West in the 133, ahead of Fernando Takahashi, with the Brazilian driver taking P12 ahead of Carl Peterson, and then Matt Best and Bill Mendocosta completing your top 15. Nick Yakubov was your last lead lap finisher, P16 there for Slipstream Sloths, ahead of teammate David Turner, who finished a lap down, and it was the same for Stacey Bertrand, who was a lap down, P18, with a better second race of the day for the Rockefeller Esports Orange driver. And then Jason Lynn and Jermaine Warren completing your top 20, with Jermaine Warren 3 laps down, but classified 4 laps down to Landry and Dibble, P21 for DNA Motorsports. And then your last classified finisher, as he finished the race 5 laps down, and that's the limit beyond which we say that a driver's not finished the race. And well, we see there Nick Beyda, the privateer, P22. Unfortunately, we did have the non-finishers, or the DNFs of Todd Miller for Caboose Crew, also Kevin Clark, Glenn Bratton, and also there Mark Senegal, Jaden Calloway, Aaron Beaver, and then our last 2 drivers of Jason Landry and Logan McKenzie. And very unfortunate for both of them, particularly for Jason Landry, with that major incident on the open lap, costing him dear, and then subsequent incidents putting him well out of contention today. For goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, what a pair of races in Chicago. And we thought Long Beach was full of drama. Well, Chicago definitely upped the ante, no doubt about it. But with that, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's broadcast, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about the Middle of the Pack Racing League community, or perhaps you want to know how to get on the grid for our ongoing or upcoming series at the MPRL, well, we firstly recommend that you check out our official Discord, invite link available on screen. And well, there's never been a better time to join the Middle of the Pack Racing League Discord community, in the fact that whether you are a newcomer to sim racing, or a stalwart veteran or a professional esports driver, there's a place for you at the MPRL, and we'd be more than happy to have you. But if you don't want to join our Discord, perhaps you're a little bit shy, or perhaps you're more of a social media person, we do recommend you follow us on Twitter. That's at twitter.com/MOP Racing, where you can stay up to date all the latest announcements regarding our ongoing and upcoming series, also the broadcast, and on top of that, find out a little bit more about the trials and tribulations of the official Middle of the Pack Racing League esports teams. We'd also like to take a moment to say a big thank you to our sponsor for this season, and that is PT Actuator, their web address being www.pt-actuator.com. And if you are looking for the pinnacle of racing and flight simulation experiences, PT Actuator are your go-to brand. With over a decade of experience at the forefront of actuator-based motion systems, PT Actuator's huge range of premium quality products are purpose-built to ensure you can experience a gold standard when simulating motion in your simulator. When you're looking for a simple one-dimension of freedom system or want to maximize your immersion through a 6-dimension freedom of system, we can see at PT Actuator have got you covered. Well, to find out more about their product range, do head to pt-actuator.com today to find out more about what they offer and all about what they represent. But with that, ladies and gents, we now turn our attention to next time, and in round number 3, we continue the theme of the Street Fighters Cup. We're going to be making our way to the state of Michigan for the one and only Belle Isle circuit in the city of Detroit. No longer in use, and indeed the race has returned to the mainstream streets of Detroit. We're going to be bringing the Belle Isle Park circuit back to life, and all the racing will occur as of next week on what is Wednesday the 24th of April 2024. But join us in our more common time slot of Saturday the 27th of April 2024 at 1700 British Summer Time, that's BST, or Universal Coordinate Time +1 UTC +1, to see how the story continues, because we have had 2 rounds absolutely ram-packed with drama. Long Beach sets us off with an absolute bang, and Chicago has continued that theme. But will we see anybody form themselves an early favourite in Detroit? Well, you have to tune in to find out, because until then, we've been the Middle of the Pack Racing League. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Brit and a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.